call is being recorded.
That's right. Welcome to the call, everybody. My name is Tim Dameron. I'm with the House of Yah Community Outreach, and I want to welcome all of our callers that are here on the call right now with us tonight. I am super excited to have all of you guys here. Tonight, we're going to be talking, well, Natasha Jordan is usually here, so hopefully she'll be here on tonight's call. But Natasha Jordan should be here shortly. But tonight's call is we're going to be talking about tax equity and discharge. What is this stuff all about? What does this stuff really mean? And more importantly, what have I done? And the second thing that people should see and should ask for, what have my students done? Now, Natasha Jordan is not just my co-host. She's actually one of my students and been a student of mine for quite some time, a few years now. And we have just done some great stuff. And look at that, like clockwork.
How are you?
Man, I'm awesome. I'm so glad you're here. And I was just warming everybody up and telling everybody all about you. And Natasha Jordan, I want to introduce you guys to Natasha Jordan. She's right here on the call with us. She's in Louisiana, and where everybody knows how to make cornbread. I guarantee you, she's an expert. Anyway, I kind of got started a little early, so but you know what? Wind us up. I was warming everybody up, waiting for you to come in anyway, so it worked out perfect, and your timing was perfect.
Well, I love it. Oh, we are awesome. Well, I'd just like to thank everybody today for joining us. It is Monday, August the 4th, 2025. Before we get started, I'd like to start with a small disclaimer that we are here for entertainment purposes only. We're not here to hurt anybody's feelings. We are not lawyers. We do not give financial advice. We do ask, though, that you be nice and don't put any ugly comments or anything like that. But, however, if you are curious about what we do and you have questions, please drop them in the comment. Or if you'd like, dial in to 1-888-570-7020. We'd love to hear you and join the meeting here with us live.
That's right. It's toll free.
Yeah.
No clubs to join.
Absolutely.
You don't have to press 2 for Spanish or anything because we don't speak Spanish. So you're good. Man, I'm so glad you're here. So, and I gave, you know what, and poor Natasha has like no warm up about tonight's class. So anyway, we usually talk a little bit before class, but tonight we just didn't do that. Tonight we're talking about tax equity and discharge. That's actually the next class coming up, and that's coming up on August 13th. This is a really, really powerful class. Natasha, what are your thoughts on the tax equity discharge class?
Oh, the tax equity and discharge. That was actually really intriguing. That one's the one that kind of makes everything full circle. As you said, you learn how to.
Natasha, the force is with you. It sounds like I take it. Are you on phone? Are you on phone power tonight?
I am. I'm actually in the process of this weekend going to get a new computer, so y'all will be able to hopefully see my face next Monday.
Yay, that'll make it better. Okay, so now you have to start over because now we can all hear you. Before then, it was like, may the force be with you, and then like this big sword fight, and then Obi-Wan Kenobi died, and then I had to stop you.
Oh, wow.
It was all that going on. I'm kidding. While you were talking, it was hard to understand. So again, tell them about the tax equity and discharge class. I was telling them a lot about some of the stuff that, the mindset stuff that you kind of have now versus, back before.
Right. Yeah. So this one here. Mm-hmm. So this one here, on your, it's kind of like the end of your full circle. This one here is everything that you've been preparing for. All your performance security agreements, just making everything come together. As far as me, it just put me in a different mindset of how to spend my money and how to get my money back. I'm 40-ish, so I don't want to work until I'm 70 years old. So I want to be able to kind of recoup my money. But not only that, I want to be able to set my grandchildren up and my children up to be able to teach them how to do this and get that different mindset, and it's okay to give everything away, so.
It really
But
is. I mean, because we're
yeah.
taught like, I mean, we we grow up in a greedy world. I mean, we do. And there's just lots of
Hmm.
greedy people around us, and they appear to be successful, you know? And they're
Yeah.
really not successful. They're really just unhappy, and they're just their own little security guard watching their stuff and marching around like a little mad bulldog all the time. You know what I mean? Those people
Hmm.
that are rich, and I struggled and I got here all the way to the top. I'm like, wow. Think I'll stay here on the bottom, man. I'm good. You know. When I was a landscaping contractor, I learned that there were two kinds of people that have money. There are people that have peace and have money. And then there are those people that thought they could buy peace with money. So now they have all the money, but they have no peace. And they're just as miserable as they were when they were poor. And you could see it in them, you know?
Hmm.
And this changes your perspective. This class is going to change your perspective, because what you're going to understand is that money doesn't go from one bucket to another bucket. What happens is we don't have any money. That's a false narrative in itself. For anybody to say go get some money, that's just culture talking. But really and truly, it's a false narrative. It really is, because it's not possible. See, in 1965, they took all the money. I mean, okay. So prior to that, they took the gold certificates and all that stuff, and the silver certificates, all the paper money. They took that out of circulation. But then in 1965, they said, all right, that's it. There's not going to be any more silver coins. That's over. So therefore, lawful money ceased. So what happened was is they were discharging debt through the debt notes, but then you had a split currency, and then we're still trading on this silver market with silver specie. And Sean's joining us. Welcome to the call. Glad he's here. There he is. Welcome to the call, Sean. Glad you're here, buddy. Good to see you, man. Um, but anyway, this is what happens in our process. And you know, Natasha brought up something really important earlier. She talked about security agreements. One of the things that you're going to learn in this class is how do we make money? You know, Sean, what do they say? What do the gurus say about when you ask them, where does the money come from? What do they say? Or does that depend on what day it is? That might be some truth.
They say it's fake. They're FRNs, and
I know, but how do we just create this stuff? Where does it create? Don't they say it's created out of thin air, like David Copperfield, don't they? Oh, just created out of thin air. They just did it. It's a proxy against all of us. They're gonna kill us all with that stuff. That's what they're gonna do. That's what it sounds like to me. And again, this is not to make anybody mad. I'm trying to bring reason to this situation, because that is not reasonable, and it doesn't make sense. So obviously, we're creating something out of thin air because we don't have any more money. And so what are we doing? We're just trading coupons around. A lot of people are having a hard time putting their minds around that. And the reason why, it's because of the sacrifice that we have to go through to go get those stupid coupons. Huh? Am I right? I mean, look at what minimum wage is right now. And nobody can afford to live on their own working at McDonald's. You can forget that unless you like work in Midland where the oil fields are. I think they pay like $40 an hour for them to run the drive-through. But outside of that, you know, or you know, Beverly Hills or something might have some spike in the market over there or something. But I'm just saying, realistically speaking, that is just not feasible. And what happens is they've created classes of people, and they control these classes of people. You ready? By knowledge, by information. I want you guys to go back for just a minute. I want you to think about high school. Don't think about the girls in high school, Sean. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about high school, okay? Think about, don't stop it. It's not gym class. Stop it. No, what we're thinking about is, what did they teach you? When you left high school, okay? And we had the big ceremony and you threw your hats up in the air. And I mean, I was playing with my band. I was getting ready for a show. I didn't have time to go play dress the robe guy over there. You could mail it to me. I didn't care. That was me in high school. But so that wasn't a big deal to me at all. And so, but after all of that, after dad buys you the new car, whatever they do on TV, okay? After whatever happens, okay? At the end of the day, I want you to think about, what did you learn? Did you learn how to work on cars? No. Those of you guys that are mechanics, did you learn how to work on cars? Those of you guys that are women, those of you guys that are housewives, did y'all learn how to be housewives by the time you left high school? They didn't teach you any of that. Did you learn how to do a tax return? No. We have a real problem. And I'm saying all of this because this was done by design to keep you small, okay? And separate the classes of people by their demographics. Those of you guys that take the debt, I have a debt, equity, and foreclosure class, and we talk about contracts. And this one that's coming up, I'm going to be talking really, really specifically and heavily on contracts. And this is the first time I've done this, but I realize that's what we need to do, because we need to know what makes up a contract. We need to know if we have a contract or don't have a contract. I've always assumed everybody just knew that. And one of my students said, we don't know. And I didn't tell him. That's dumb. All right. So anyway, that got added to the class. And that's what gives you the green light to say, you know what? That's it. The lender didn't do what he's supposed to do. I'm calling the note, and I'm calling everything. And you can do that. We're going to talk more about the Electronic Signature Act. We're going to talk about how to invoke that properly, better than what we've ever done it before, more specific. And the reason why is because I'm actually in it, and I'm actually sharpening my sword right now on that very piece of meat. And it's cutting like a knife, like it is, like Bryan Adams, just whoosh. I know y'all start singing now. Anyway, it's all good. It's all good. It's good. Anyway, so this class, we're going to be talking about discharge. Okay. What is discharge? Discharge is the end result. I'm going to just tell y'all. I'm just going to tell you. Discharge is the end result of capturing and recording and your equity. Now, what is your equity? Your performance. Huh? Think about, remember what I said earlier in the call tonight. Think about what you had to do to get all those stupid coupons. That was performance. And you know what? Somebody captured that. Somebody captured that in your security agreement. I want you guys to think about something. And you know what? Like and share this, because none of these teachers are talking like this. None of your teachers are going to talk to you on this level because they haven't done it. You know, I came out public because I got tired of all these people with these half-baked ideas running around getting in trouble. I don't like to see people getting into trouble. And here's the thing, when you start seeing a whole bunch of it, it starts making me think that maybe there's an agenda here. Maybe there's an agenda. Maybe there's an agenda to discredit the citizens of this country and make them stupid, make them look stupid, take their credibility away, call them a citizen. Huh? You ever thought that might be a plan of attack? Or do you think they just, okay, we're going to shoot you now and just send the bombs over and that's just all they're going to do? No, man, these guys are tricky dicky. They're going to do a lot more than that. And I believe our country's under attack. And this is why I came out. First time I heard David Straits speak, I was excited for like the first 30 minutes. But as soon as I could hear that he couldn't conclude a stinking thing he was saying, I mean, he could get his rocket off the ground, but he couldn't close the deal. He could tell you about this, that, and the other thing, but he couldn't tell you how to get there. And after I heard that, I said, you know what? I need to stand up. I need to get out in the public. I need to fix this. So I did. And I suited up 9 years ago and I did it. I've been teaching 9 years ago, but I came out about 4 years ago. And I'm still doing it. Okay. What you're going to learn in my class, and I'm going to tell you guys tonight, is discharge is the byproduct of capturing your performance and discharging it, reporting it. Okay. So what happens is, I want you to think about your car loan. How many people here have ever taken their car into a car dealership and you owed money on it? And the salesman comes out from the office and he's shaking his head and he's looking at you. And you're just sitting there like a deer with the headlights. You're like, oh my God, what happened? You're like, I mean, is it like my car blew up in a parking lot? I mean, what? He just took it for a test drive. What happened? Anyway, he's walking back, right? And he comes and he sits down and he says, Tim, you owe more on your car than what it's worth. And in this market, we call that being upside down on your car.
Oh.
And I'm going to tell you for an absolute fact, there's no way in holy heck that I drove into that dealership upside down. But somehow this salesman's going to tell me that I'm going to drive out of there upside down unless I come up with a whole bunch of money. Now, that's a fact. Most people know this, okay? But let's put this into perspective. Let's say that you came to me, or let's say, you know what? I see Daniel on the call here. Let's say I go to Daniel here and I say, Daniel, I need to borrow some money. Sean, I need to borrow some money. Natasha, I need to borrow some money. And I say, okay, I need to borrow some money. And they're like, okay, well, what do you want to buy? I want to buy an IROC Z 2025. They don't even make it. I don't care. But I want it anyway, right? And Natasha's like, yeah. I can hear, I can hear Huey Lewis in the news banging in the background already. Sean's like, yeah, that's what's up. We could take the T-tops off. We don't even know if it has any or not. We don't care. But we're excited, right? And then what happens is brass tacks starts to kick in. You leave the dealership in that car, and now it lost a third of its value. And then the reality is the loan on your car doesn't seem all that important anymore. Why? Because your car's not worth anything. So what are these loans really all about? I mean, think about how many people are upside down on their cars, okay? And how much sense does it make for a bank to make a car loan on a depreciating asset? I mean, it's going to depreciate every single month. How much sense does that make? Natasha would back right out of the car deal as soon as I told her, well, hey, it's a cool IROC Z and me and Sean are going to ride around in it and look for T-tops, I guess. I don't know. But the one thing I got to tell you is that this thing's going to lose 30% when I leave the dealership. And then it's going to lose about another 25 to 30% in the first 4 years of ownership. That sounds like slavery, not ownership. Anyway, it's like you're holding up a broken bridge or something, right? Do you guys see what I'm saying? No, you don't get it yet. Okay, I'm going to break it down even smaller. Okay, stay with me, everybody. So, remember I talked about capturing performance, right? Your security agreement, your car loan papers. Hold on. These, you guys remember signing these? Remember these these yellow papers? Well, this is years ago, but now they have digital ones and they do other things. But you guys remember signing those? Huh? Do you remember when and this is what I used to do for a living. So do you remember when the F&I guy would go over, finance and insurance guy, he would go over your payments, right? He would tell you, okay, Mr. Damron, your payments are, you got 400 payments at 3.9%. See, that's what you get for that interest rate. So but you got to make 400 payments. And at the end of that term, and then you're going to see the amount of interest that you paid, and that's going to make your eyebrows temporarily end up here for a while. And then you're going to look over to that far box on the right hand side. And that's your insurance, the principal of the car, the partridge in a pear tree, the floor mats, the wheels, everything. It's all the spoiler, everything's in there, right? And you look at that number and you're like, dang, we better pay this thing off quick. I don't want to pay that much. And then the finance guy looks at you and he says, but don't worry, folks. There's no prepayment penalty. So what you can do is you can set yourself up so that you can actually stay ahead of this curve. I really don't want you to get too concerned about this big number over here because it's a big number. And we definitely all can agree on that today. However, I can show you how to cut your interest and cut your loan time by at least 13 months. and da 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 da. And that's what we do to get you off that number. Yeah. They don't teach you that in ITT Tech. Okay. So stay with me. All right. So what does that mean? That means that contract, after you're done performing, this one, when you're done performing, that big number on the end, that's how much this is worth. Did you know that you could get that back? I have a student that's on the call right now that did that very thing. Paid off his house, got it back. He's got a $147,000 tax return coming because of that. This is what we're going to learn. I'm going to show you how to operate on both sides. I'm not going to tell you, oh, the boogeyman's over here on this side. Run from the straw man. Da, 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 da. And then everybody starts singing, we're off to see the wizard. And they run across the chicken coop together. We're not doing that tonight. I'm going to show you how to run this chicken coop. All of it. Just like the big boys do. And you're able to do it because you're on the same streets that they're operating on. This is how I figured all this stuff out. So back in 2015, there was a lot of these teachers that were out. And all of those teachers are not out anymore. They're all dead, gone, in prison, discredited, gone. All of them, except for Anna Von Wright. She's the only one that still stays around. And that's because she is in the business of harvesting little babies and embryos. She actually works on the, she actually is one of the board members of Planned Parenthood. So, yeah. And, you know, Planned Parenthood, they like to trade baby parts around and, you know, so they can put stuff, so the stars can put stuff on their faces and stuff like that. And gross. Anyway, this is the kind of stuff they do. It's sick, man. Anyway, and that's part of Anne Von Wright's group. And outside of her, there's nobody else around. There's nobody else. I'm not tooting my own horn, but there's nobody else with the results that we have in this group. We have phenomenal results. 2 years ago, I had 2 of my students foreclose on their homes. They took them. And they're still in them today. Yeah. One in California, another one in Georgia. So can a contract fall apart? Absolutely. And once you learn how these contracts work and how these security agreements actually are funding themselves, then you'll understand how to recoup some of that. Exactly what Natasha was talking about just a second ago. Natasha was nailing it on the head when she's saying that I'm thinking ahead about the purchases and I'm doing it. You ever, Sean, you ever been to the Lamborghini dealership in Dallas that went off of 75?
I know what you're talking about, but I've never been there.
He just drives by and honks at him. No, but you never been in there?
No.
Really?
Not yet, anyway.
You have no free time. You didn't just like, did you like sit there in traffic for like 15 minutes? It's almost like you're there. You just like sit out front and you're just in traffic on 75. Well, anyway, if you go into the Lamborghini store, did you know that you could lease a Lamborghini? That is absurd. Seriously? And then like they have all these financing options for Lamborghinis. And if you go to the McLaren store, they got that too. The same stuff. Now we know that the kind of people that buy those kinds of cars do things very privately. And they do things so privately, nobody knows what they're doing. And that's part of their trade secret. And this is how they that's how they stay in the game. Okay. This is how they push their little turd around. It's fine. It's whatever. Everybody has that right to do that. So knowing that these people have enough liquid cash to walk in the door and drop $450 on a Lamborghini. And I'm going to tell you where I live, it's like a car show here, like Monday through Friday around here. There's all kinds of stuff around here. There's Aston Martins and Bentleys and all kinds of stuff around here. It's crazy, 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 crazy. And when you think about the mindset of the people that have purchased these cars, and more importantly, How did they purchase it? Here's what they did. And this is something I'm going to tell you in my class. I'm going to tell you more about this in my class. I'm going to show you how all these car deals are funded. And here's what I'm going to tell you. Unless you walk in there with a check, nobody else gives them a check. Never happens. I'm also going to tell you that the note can do this as soon as they leave the dealership. That's right. And your little loan is held together by just barely a little lien on the car. And the funny part is that they don't even have a title. We're going to talk about that too. I'm going to show you how all this stuff kind of goes together and how they put this salad together. And not so you can go and tear it apart, but so that you can assess it. We're going to talk about the TT&L window. Does anybody know what that is out there? Joel, you guys, Daniel, any of you guys know what the TT&L window is? Well, I'm going to tell you. And you're not going to learn this in ITT Tech. You're not going to learn this at DeVry. I promise you. So when you walk into your bank, the TT&L window is that little short window. It looks like a handicap window. And it's got a funny looking little register there. And it's different than all the rest of them, if you notice, right? What is that? That is the tax, treasury, and lien window. Not tax, title, and license. Tax, treasury, lien. So when you hear them talking about TT&L, a lot of times they're doing kind of a Bob Dylan on you. They're talking about it, but then they think that you think that it's tax, title, and license, and that's what you think they're talking about. So they're doing like, you know what I mean? That kind of stuff. Yes, tax, treasury, lien. Now, the Bible says, I know, right? Bible study was yesterday. Why don't you be quiet about that? Because it's relevant today. Just hang with me for a minute, okay? Don't worry. I won't ask anybody to repent tonight. I promise. Anyway, I will, though. I promise you. Anyway, so that was funny. Welcome to the call, everybody. Hey, and welcome everybody that's here. Thank y'all so much for showing up. So what you're going to see is I'm going to show you how these contracts are put together. And more importantly, how do you get yours out of there? Okay. I'm going to show you how to do these things in honor. And instead of listening people cry and complain about, oh, they double dipped it. Oh, they got paid twice. You know what? You're going to get paid twice. How'd you like to get paid twice? How would you like to get paid more than what your house was worth? Or maybe more than what you paid for it? How'd you like to get paid back for your car that you paid off and then some? How'd you like that? See, if we don't discharge this debt, somebody else will do it for you. Do you guys remember when we used to get our checks back? You young people don't know anything about that. But once upon a time, they used to, this is back when everybody wrote checks and debit cards they didn't use them like they use them today. You just had credit cards. And then if you didn't have any credit, then you just had a check. That's all you had. So when debit cards first came out, I think it elevated a lot of low-income people into thinking they had credit because they'd be walking around, look, I got a credit card. But they really don't. It's just their debit card. They don't care. They're going to waive it anyway. And that's kind of how it was. Okay. So what happened is we used to write checks. One of the things we're going to talk about in my class is what is a check. Did you know that there's 2 transactions on a check? Have you ever noticed that? If you ever write a check or do a withdrawal slip, that goes right to the TT&L window over there and a stack of checks with the rest of them. And you got some lady over there, and she's just putting them in, or some dude's over there putting stuff in. That window goes straight to the treasury. And what you did is you surrendered your right to collect the other half of that. We all did it a long time ago. And the reason why is because people weren't discharging their debt. They were sending the checks back, but nobody was doing it. They stopped doing it. And you know what? Duh, they just threw us out of high school. Didn't teach us how to do anything, right, guys? They didn't teach us what those checks were for. They didn't teach us to put those on a 1040V and send them back to the treasury for funding so that we could get the other discharge. They didn't tell us that. So what the banks do is they keep all of those. And after 3 years, they ask the IRS, And after 3 years, they tell the IRS that, hey, Tim left all these checks here. Can we have them? And they'll be like, yeah, that's abandoned property. You can have it. And in the meanwhile, what are we doing? We're just back on the wheel running again. Here, do you want a phone? Sign right here. Run, and go make payments. Verizon is whipping y'all around just like this, getting y'all to lease phones. Seriously? Stop it. All they're doing is just capturing your equity. Those phones aren't free, you guys. What they're doing is they're getting you to sign a security agreement, and then they're cashing that security agreement. What if I told you can get that security agreement back? What if I told you could get the note back on your car, the house, the jet ski? What if they don't give it back to you? What if I told you there's a plan for that too, and it's legal, completely legal? Those of you guys that sign up for the tax equity and discharge class, I have a firm mailing book class that's going to be the next night. Get in that class. That class is free. Okay. Anybody that signs up for tax equity and discharge from this call, please let me know. And the way you do that is you go to the website, houseofyahcommunityoutreach.com. Or you can hit me up on Facebook. You can send me a message. You can call my office, 210-605-0144. Feel free to call my office tomorrow. I'm open at 10 a.m. tomorrow from 10 to 4. Be happy to take your call. Be happy to talk with you guys. And I like to visit with my students or potential students to make sure that we're a good fit. I want to make sure that your expectations are being met. I want to make sure that you come into my class knowing exactly what you're going to get. Not because here's what I'm not going to do. I'm not going to tell any of you, oh, you don't have to pay your bills anymore because the government's going to pay them for you now because it's their job to discharge them. That there's no chips in that bag at all. That's a dead deal. And I don't recommend you get on board with that. It will hurt you. Okay. But there's a lot of bad information out there. There's just a lot of bad information. Some of the other things we're going to be talking about in the class, in this tax equity and discharge class, is we're going to go through all the class 5 gift forms. What's a class 5 gift form? Well, that's a 1099 form. Any of these red forms. Okay. And am I going to send you to the IRS and tell you to order a bunch of forms and put them in the trunk of your car and run around and with a typewriter and ding, 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 ding and type them all out? No. No, man, I'm going to show you how to set this thing up properly so you can hand this right over to your CPA. They're going to know exactly what you're talking about, probably. It's going to depend on if you trust people. But here's what's not going to work. If you call them up and try to bounce stuff off of them to see if they know something, here's what I'm going to tell you. They're compartmentalized, okay? They have got a pattern that they follow. Like when you do this, I don't know if you've ever done your taxes online, but you kind of add something and then your return goes up and then you take something out and your return goes down, and it starts going up and down. They have the same kind of thing. So for them, they're just making sure that they fill out all the blanks and go through the entire thing. And then at the very end, the computer settles the work and they don't think anything. All they're doing is doing the labor part of it. And because of that, a lot of tax preparers really don't understand what they're doing. And I had a tax preparer call one of my students and tell him, you can't live out of your trust. Why not? Lots of beneficiaries live out of their trust. Why can't I live out of my trust? Well, who's he? Who is she? Well, as she was confused and thought that, and told her that she was going to have to pay like 30% income for all of the contributions that she makes to her trust. And I was like, you better go get into rehab quick. Your eyes are floating, girl. Stop it. Just stop it now. I'm telling you. Anyway, so your tax return, people, not everybody that does taxes is going to understand this. But here's the thing. If you're in front of the right one, they will. And there's plenty of them out there that will understand it. I've actually talked to Sean's tax preparer. I talked to two of Sean's. Did I talk to 2 of yours? One.
You talked
okay. I talked to 2 of yours. Yeah, that's who it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
She was like, can you explain it to him? I love it when my students do that. They'll be like, all right, we're going to test this bearded guy now. We're going to see if he knows what's up. Can you explain it to him, Tim? Here. Psh, then hand it over. Let's see if he blows up on the other end. Still here. And then what happens in a lot of cases is that the tax preparer is like kind of like, you can do that? You know what I mean? Yeah, man, you can do that. And they'll put it in. Oh, you can do that. Oh, you know. And it's because they're compartmentalized. And you have to understand that all these markets are compartmentalized. So I want to go back to Daniel's thing here. Tax, treasury, lien. He just put that in. And so knowing that, look, you don't even have to be religious or not be religious. I'm just telling you, Satan's running this world. If you don't believe me, go to Taco Bell. There's sixes all over the place. Everybody's got sixes, 6, 6, 6, 6, 6. You got Iron Maiden with sixes. Everybody else has got sixes. And there's sixes in places you just don't even think there should be sixes at. But they're everywhere. Start counting steps, pillars, windows, things like that, man. You'll start noticing variables of 6 everywhere. Okay. And that's not for that's for a specific reason, because the word says, according to last night, what I talked about in Bible study, is that we're to reckon the number of the beast. Okay. What does that mean? That sounds so Hollywood. It means to recognize. Oh, doesn't have to get all formal. Just recognize the number of the beast. And here's what we know about the beast. He likes to pervert and invert everything. He likes to speak backwards. Okay. So when you look at the acronym tax, treasury, lien, and then you look at it with the eyes of discernment, knowing who's the creator of this system, you just figured out exactly how money is made out of thin air. That starts with the lien, then that performance is captured and it goes to the treasury. And at the very end, it's discharged. This is how money is made. Here, there you go. That's how it's done, guys. It's really just that simple. Okay. Forget these people that are sitting there talking your ear off all night long. I'm telling you, man, it's just that simple. And that's the basics of it. This class, I'm going to break this stuff down. I'm going to show you how it fits in your trust situation. Okay. Those of you guys, this class is for people that are operating out of trust. This class is for people that are operating businesses, small businesses and things like, or even a big business. Doesn't matter. If you're involved in any of that kind of stuff, this is a great class for you. You're going to love this class. I'm going to show you how to set things up. And more importantly, I'm going to show you how to set yourself up to be blessed. And remembering this, those of you guys that don't have a trust, okay? If you're not operating out of trust, you have front pockets. And if you got kids, how often does money stay in your front pockets? Not very long. And when you leave the house, down they need stuff. Then it really doesn't stay in your pocket anymore. It flies out like bad dream. It just flies out and it goes away, you know, just like the word says. And when it does that, we don't have any accounting for it. We don't have any way to say, you know, well, that went to the bubble gum, this went to this. We just write it off and say, you know, well, we messed off that money. The problem is that works fine and great for you. But if you were running a business and you were operating your business this way, you would be hurting your business severely. Okay. You'd be stealing from yourself. And I'm telling you, if you're doing this, you're stealing from yourself. You're robbing yourself of your own business, and you're literally running your life like a hobby shop rather than running it like a business. If we start understanding the principles of commerce and how they operate, where they operate, then you'll understand exactly where you need to be in this process so that you're in the best available position to benefit. And just as Natasha said earlier, it's not for you to benefit. It's for your beneficiaries to benefit. Those of you guys that harp on your families or tell your families, you know, I go out and I work hard for you. I'm going to tell you, I've said that to my family too. I've gone out and I bust my butt for you guys. I'm didn't ever come home with a busted butt, but came home with a busted everything else, but never came home with a busted butt. But I told everybody, I tell the kids, I busted my butt for you. Look at this. Didn't bust nothing. It looked good. No, that's what happened. And it didn't happen. But that was metaphor. But really, if you want to back that up, you back that up with real performance. Those of you guys that have parents that are alive right now, what's their money situation like? When they die, are you going to be rich? Or are they getting taxed out and taxed out and taxed? Are they getting moved into reverse mortgages on their homes so they have to give away their equity just so they can survive? This is happening in America right now. Ask yourself that. And if you say yes, I'm going to tell you, welcome to the club. That's about 80-90% of Americans. You're talking less than 10% or above that learning curve. Less than 10%. So what's happened is that we've raised a nation of debt slaves, and we've taught them how to perform. We've taught them how to sit down. We've taught them how to raise their hand. We taught them how to stand in line, and we taught them how to shut up. Isn't that what we learned in school, you guys? We learned how to show up on time. We learned how to stand in line. We learned how to stay in our seat. And more importantly, we were taught, I didn't learn how to shut up, but everybody else learned how to shut up because I kept getting in trouble and they didn't. So there's the proof of that. Okay. And that's what happened. But you can change that. You can change that if you understand what's going on. Now, I had somebody earlier in the call ask me what school I went to. I went to the real life school. I went to the school where nothing was fair. Not one thing. And everything that I got, I had to pay double the interest. I had to work twice as hard, twice as long, twice as fast. And you know what? I never complained one time. I just kept running. And I ran faster than my master's chariots in more than one occasion. I'm going to show you how to do that very same thing. And you can do that by understanding. Last night in our Bible study, we talked about gaining wisdom. And wisdom comes by humility. That means if you're working in a restaurant, that means you might need to go clean some toilets, even if you're the owner. And I've been the owner. I own 7 restaurants in San Antonio, 7 rally stores in San Antonio, little hamburger stores there in San Antonio, and was in the restaurant business for a lot of years. And then I decided, I hit the top of my bird cage, sold all my restaurants. And then I decided, well, I'm going to the car business. I spent 23 years in the car business. I watched these security agreements. And I'm going to tell you, as a finance director, I spun thousands of these deals, not knowing what I was doing, having no idea, just following orders. But then I kept hitting the top of my bird cage around the dealership too. So then I went to tech school. I became an ASE certified technician. So I went from the front of the house to the back of the house. And then I became a finance manager. I'm sorry. After becoming a finance manager, then I became a service manager. And now I'm now I'm supervising all these technicians in drive. But I'm still bumbling around this dealership. And what I started seeing is by moving to all these departments in different departments, I started seeing and understanding how this dealership operates. This is something I'm going to be talking to you guys about in class. And this is really key because once you understand how dealerships operate, that tells you what your potential is. Those of you guys that are operating in trust, those of you guys that are operating businesses, okay? This shows you what your potential is. And I'm going to tell you, it's huge. Do you know how many times a car can get sold at a dealership before it permanently leaves the lot? I mean, it'll leave the lot a few times, test drives, whatever, home on the weekend, whatever. But at the end of the day, did you know some cars get sold 3 and 4 times? This is why when stuff goes wrong, it turns into Peter Pan land out there. It does. And they'll just pay for anything. Sean's worked at dealerships, Like something will happen. You know, some salesman that's friends with the GSM goes out drinking too much, and this happens a lot. We go out drinking too much in a 350Z or something, go wrap it around a pole and just destroy the car. It's cool. That dude's working the next day. He's not fired. And there's another car to replace it just like that. Why? Because that guy contracted in that car. And I'm going to show you how they cashed it. I'm going to show you exactly how they did it. Not so you can go over there and go, oh, I know what you did. No, not for that. So that you can look at yourself. So you can look at the situation like an opportunist and say, how can I make that work for me? What if I told you you could actually get paid on your car and get paid to buy your car if you did it just right? Imagine that. Imagine if they wrote you a check and it came to your mailbox for 10,000, 6,000. Shoot, Dodge is doing what, 25,000 off now? Imagine if you could convert that and get that 25 G's sent to your. I'm going to show you how to do that. I'm going to show you how rebates on cars are really an incentive for people that know what they're doing to essentially get paid to go buy a car. They get paid to perform. And then what do? They play the game. They pay off the car. You get the note, you cash the note, put the note back in, then all the money comes back in. We're going to talk about how to do that. What if they don't give it back to you? Okay. We're going to talk about that too. We're going to talk about how this whole thing really works. Okay. And this is something that people aren't talking about, Natasha. This is something that people aren't trying to keep the lights on, I feel like, in a lot of places. You know? You know, I think the struggle is real, you know, in that regard.
Yeah, and I think it kind of goes back to, you know, the education system to keep us being the workforce, you know, and working all this time and uneducated, where we don't learn this, you know, to be able to get ourselves free from everything, you know, and how to discharge and, you know, why it's important to do all this. So
it's like they left that completely out. Do you remember Natasha a few years ago? Well, back when Obama was in office and he sent 2 pallets of cash, big pallets of cash to Dubai. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah.
And you remember everybody lost their SHI, you know what I mean, over here? They lost it.
Oh.
And then after that happened, magically, what happened? Our credit score went down for the first time ever. Not that I was watching it or anything, but you know, that's what they say just to get everybody excited. I don't know, maybe they did get excited, but whatever. So, how did that happen? How did that drop our credit score? How did we as a value lose? How did we as a nation lose value in that transaction? I'm going to tell you exactly how. All of those funds that went over there, they'll never be discharged. So that means that's like owning a business and having a, let's think of something juicy. I got a juicy one. All right. So let's just think of it. Say you own a business, all right, and you're not a good person. Let's assume you're not a good person. Although I think all you guys are good people. But just for the sake of the story. Hold on a second. Sean is saying this is when they switch over to using crypto coin and true cashless system, will the system work on this new cashless system? Absolutely. Absolutely. Because it's still discharge. You're still discharging. It doesn't matter if you're discharging chickens or if you're discharging coupons from HEB. It doesn't matter. That part doesn't matter. Dang. Now I forgot where I was. What was I talking about before? Shoot, you got me distracted. What was I talking about? Natasha, save me.
You were talking about our credit score going down for sending the money overseas.
Oh, yes. So when they sent the money overseas, that money was never discharged. That was like a huge portion of debt, promised debt of performance that left, that never came back. And this happens to us all the time. And the reason that it does is because our social security numbers can only discharge so much debt. And they're really not designed to discharge our debt. What they're designed to do is discharge everybody else's debt. Now, that sounds kind of wacky, but it's really true. When you're doing your taxes at the end of the year, you're not doing your taxes. I know we think we're doing our taxes, but we're really not. Because if you were doing your taxes, you would need your employer's W-2 or his 1099. Because you would have it on a ledger and you could, here you go, that's what I made. There's the taxes. Do it. Make it happen, Captain. But that's not the case. You showing up to H&R Block and look at what they do. Look at all of the public participation that's out there. You know what I mean? Look at Jackson Hewitt. They're like in Walmart. They're in the parking lot. They're like waving people down on the freeway. It seems like, hey, don't get your taxes, you know? And then you got those Liberty people too, that look like the Statue of Liberty, and they're all waving out there trying to cause accidents in the street, looks like. And this is a conscious effort to get us to do this. But see, they don't want the corporations to discharge their debt. They want to put all that on us. Yeah. So what happens is, in a lot of cases, the corporations aren't paying taxes, and why is because they're putting positives back in, or they're not reporting to the IRS at all. This happens. And I'm going to be talking about how to deal with that kind of stuff. What do you do if a family member owes you money? Can you recoup that?
Yep.
Yeah, you sure can. And if they're a beneficiary, you definitely can. We're going to be talking about K1s and how those go into effect and how those work. Thank you, man. Thank you. Daniel is saying this is finally we get a chance to operate our finances with some competence. That's right. And what I'm going to show you is I'm going to take all my years of working commercially, owning businesses, different kinds of businesses. Okay. And what we're going to do is we're going to apply that as a trust strategy to how to manage your trust. And if you have that mindset and you're understanding that and you're getting it, this is going to be a powerful class for you. I wished I would have taken this class back when I was a landscaping contractor for 12, 13 years too. And I wish I'd have done it too, because I'd spent $80,000 to $100,000 a year just buying mulch and rocks. Oh, and I didn't recoup any of that. That would have reduced my taxable income to probably nothing. And you know what? I could have retired sooner. I could have retired sooner, really could have. But it's cool. I retired at 45. That's what I did, and probably going to do it again. I'm just saying, this is how we do this, okay? And if you understand how this process is done, it's not painful. It's actually peaceful. It makes sense. You know, earlier I talked about how absurd it would be for somebody to walk into a Lamborghini dealership to go lease a Lamborghini. I mean, what? I mean, you're either going to buy it or you're not, dude. You know what I mean? It's like, why would you even finance? I mean, what are the payments? Just, I don't know. That just hurts even just thinking about the payments on a Lamborghini. My God. So, I mean, it's ridiculous. But these guys are smart because they're letting their money work for them. Because their eyes aren't on that payment book. Their eyes are on getting this back. And capturing that performance and getting paid. Oh, but you need a vessel to put it in. Now, don't you? Well, this is why I encourage people to operate beyond their infancy. Have you guys ever heard that before? To operate to operate beyond your infancy. That means what you came into the world with was some Pampers, maybe a little wrapped up sheet, one of those little blankets that held you all together like this, and you're all tight like a little Tootsie Roll. So you came in like this, right? And a birth certificate and a social security number that was probably longer than you. Well, maybe longer than me. I was a pretty small baby, but whatever. So that's what you came in the world with. Okay. And some of y'all are 50 years old, 40 years old, 30 years old, whatever the number is, doesn't matter. And what's changed? That's what I want you to ask yourself. Nothing. I'm telling you, something has to change. And if we understand what that change is, you're going to be in a better place to manage your estate. Okay. Not just living in the here and the now. You're thinking like Natasha. You're thinking about your kids. You guys that are in this generation right now, are your parents thinking about you? I'm going to tell you, mine aren't. If my mom passed away tomorrow, I'd get a bill. Yeah, it's your mom. Oh, yeah, it's my mom. But she worked for 50 years, 60 years of her life. And some of y'all have family members that have worked even longer than that. For what? If you can't pass it off, if you can't give something to the next generation, then here's all you've done. All you've done is maintain your status quo. And we can do more. I'm not beating you up, man. I'm telling you, you can do more. So before you go stomping around your house, men, and thinking you're just the man of the house, I want you to read your mail. I want you to check your inbox. I want you to look around yourself and ask yourself, what happens if you lose your job tomorrow? What happens? What's the plan? Are you just living on the hope system? What happens if your company closes tomorrow? You know what? What happens if you live in Lubbock or Houston and your work is completely flooded and you got no place to go to work and he can't pay you? This is happening in Texas. No, forget that. This is happening all over the world, you guys. What's your plan? I talked to one of my students yesterday and I said, you know what? Where's your next 30,000 going to be made? And it's not for you. It's for your family members. It's for your children. Men, it's for your family so that you can show that you did what you said you were going to do. When you said, I do, you be doing it. Okay? You didn't just go up there and make a speech, man, and click glasses. No, man. No. You made a commitment for life. And I want you to look at your life. I want you to look at your finances. And if they're not where you want them to be, maybe it's education. Maybe that's what you're missing. This is going to be a fantastic class. I'm going to teach you guys how to look at your stuff, understand it. And more or less, you're going to know how to reverse engineer everything. Once you know how everything goes this way, then you start looking at things like an opportunist. And now you can start reverse engineering all that stuff. And it's going to start a fire in your heart and in your mind. And you're going to go, now don't go crazy and go back like 20 years and try to save the Noah's Ark and stuff. Don't do that, man. You need to stay in the now. But I mean, because we all want to do it. Man, back in 79 when they took the house, we're going to get them now. No. Don't do that. You got to stay in the here and the now. But if you do in the here and the now and you're laying good road, now you can say you did something. Men, providers, leaders of your home. If you became crippled tomorrow, do you got a plan? Do you think Aflac's really going to cover you? You think Social Security is going to pay for your bills? Ha! It's a guarantee you're going to be automatically turned down. I mean, go figure. I mean, that's just messed up. It's So what does that tell you? Things are shaky. Things are shaky in America. So you better have a plan. And if you don't have a plan to fail. Plan to fail. I'm serious. And here's another thing. If we learn to do this right, we're in a position where we can help the people that didn't. that didn't do. You're going to have enough. You're going to have enough, and you're going to have an ability to not sit over there and be a tightwad, but sit over there and be pretty darn generous. And that's how you change things. Equity, leading by example. Yeshua came here and he fulfilled the entire Torah, all of it. Not because he's awesome. He did it so he could show us, so he could show it as it could be done. Hello. And you know what? Fathers, mothers, this is an opportunity for you to show your beneficiaries it can get done.
Amen.
Because if you don't have a plan and you pass away, your stuff's and your property is going to go into probate, and they're going to cut you up like a steak dinner, and they're going to give you a bill, probably a bunch of bills, and then whatever's left over. Okay? That's not liberty. That's not what your mom worked hard for. It's not what your dad worked hard for. It's not what you worked hard for. It's not what Natasha worked hard for. It's not what Sean worked hard for. It's not what I worked hard for. We know this. And I could run this thing around. But I'm just saying, really, we know this. So now we have an opportunity to change this. And you need to ask yourself, what are you going to do? You're going to stay where you're at? You're going to beat on your chest all night with somebody on the phone while he's coming up with new ideas, having court in his living room, probably drank too much coffee. He goes, wisdom comes from Yahweh. Wisdom comes from a place of order. Wisdom comes from a place of humility, not somebody beating on their chest. Okay? So if you hear these teachers and they're loud, they're arrogant, they're obnoxious, Yahweh despises those people. And the wisdom that they're going to give you going to be very limited because their fruits have already spoiled. This is what happens when you take a gift and you misuse it. This is a gift, this knowledge. And I want to invite you guys to the class. If you guys are interested in learning about this stuff, we're about out of time. But call my office tomorrow. Write this number down, 210-605-0144. We're going to be open up. My office opens at 10 a.m. I'd love to speak with you, talk to you about the class. Please bring your questions, okay? And we could take a whole hour if that's what we need to do. Natasha, close us up tonight.
Absolutely. I'd just like to thank everybody for giving us their time and dedication for listening to us. And as Tim said, if you have any questions, please give them a call. And I'd just like to say, everybody be blessed and have a wonderful night. Thank you so much.
Yeah, man. We'll see you guys later. Y'all be good. Be well, everybody.
Thank you.